If you enjoy what you hear here today, please consider supporting me on my Patreon page. Every dollar helps, and you get to see content that you won't see here. Chapter 9. I know I made a mistake. Rainbow jolted awake, her heart pounding and her body covered in a cold sweat. She tried, unsuccessfully, to slow her breathing down as she struggled to remember the nightmare that had caused her current condition. Lightning strike had been there. And so had Scootaloo. Lightning had started falling. And Rainbow just started laughing. Then Scootaloo started crying. And Rainbow pushed her off the cloud, her own horrible laugh still echoing in her ears as she watched the filly fall helplessly towards the ground. But that couldn't be right. She would never hurt Scootaloo. Rainbow shook her head vigorously, trying to get some clarity as she glanced down at the filly sleeping next to her. Scootaloo was sleeping soundly, the only movement being the spastic twitching of her tiny wings and the steady rise and fall of her chest with each breath. A look out the window told her that it was in the early hours of the morning, at best. Celestia had not yet even raised the sun, and Luna's moon was still shining brightly in the night sky. Rainbow pulled the blanket back over Scootaloo and herself, then rested her head against the pillow. But sleep eluded her. Every time she shut her eyes, she was overcome by an uneasy, anxious feeling that would only go away when she looked to confirm that Scootaloo was still peacefully sleeping next to her. Eventually, exhaustion won over her anxiety, and Rainbow fell into a dreamless sleep. She was eventually jolted out of her slumber by a gentle prodding sensation on her muzzle.
"Are you awake?"
she heard Scootaloo whisper.
"I am now."
Rainbow tried to sound annoyed at being woken up, but Scootaloo was too adorable for it to be sincere. She smiled at the little filly.
"How you doing, Squirt? Let me see your head."
Rainbow used her muzzle to gently push Scootaloo's head to the right so she could get a better look at her injury. The swelling had subsided somewhat, but the filly still had a rather unsightly welt behind her left ear. Rainbow let out a short breath and gently ruffled Scootaloo's mane.
"It doesn't hurt. I'm tough, just like you,"
Scootaloo said as she puffed her chest out. Rainbow playfully bopped Scootaloo on the nose, taking care to avoid the welt.
"Oh yeah? Show me what you got, kid."
Rainbow held her forelegs up and Scootaloo jabbed at them, mimicking a boxer's motions. Scootaloo wound up for the big finish, and Rainbow exaggerated the impact as the tiny hoof connected with her muzzle. She fell over backward in a pratfall, and she landed flat on her back.
"Okay, I give up,"
she said as Scootaloo danced around the bed, her forelegs raised in triumphant victory. Rainbow sat up and smiled as she watched Scootaloo savor her pretend conquest. The little filly kept raising her hooves in the air and repeating,
"Oh, I'm so pretty, it hurts to be this good,"
as she did that little dance. Rainbow had to admit, it was pretty endearing.
"Okay there, Muhammad Ali. What do you say we go make some breakfast?"
Scootaloo smiled and jumped on Rainbow's back, and the two Pegasi headed downstairs. In the middle of making their waffles, there was a knock at the door. Rainbow pushed the more outlandish thoughts about who could possibly be visiting at this hour out of her head, and peered through the peephole, finding, much to her relief, that it was just Fluttershy.
"Oh my goodness! Rainbow Dash!"
The yellow Pegasus exclaimed as Rainbow opened the door and she saw Rainbow's bruises.
"It's okay, Shy. It looks worse than it is,"
Rainbow said, trying to reassure her friend. Fluttershy frowned.
"Well, that's good, because it looks awful. Twilight said that you and Scootaloo are supposed to take it easy the next few days, so I thought I'd come by and make sure you're listening to the doctors. I tried to visit you in the hospital, but they weren't letting any pony in your room until you woke up.
Fluttershy began to tremble slightly as she remembered the helpless feeling she had watching her unconscious friend being wheeled into the operating room. Rainbow noticed this and gave her a gentle hug.
It's okay, Shy. I knew you were there. And thanks for the soup. Really hit the spot. You're welcome. You know I'm always here for you if you need anything. Thanks, Shy. Now that you're here, would you mind watching Scootaloo for a few hours? I have some things I need to take care of.
Fluttershy's voice took on a mothering tone.
No. You need to go sit down on that couch and rest. Shy, I'm not gonna go do anything stupid like practice stunts. I just need to visit with a few ponies, and I'd rather not do it with Scootaloo around. Can you please help me out here?
She asked, her voice just shy of pleading. Fluttershy nodded reluctantly.
But you are going to have breakfast first,
she said, while fixing Rainbow with a not-quite half-intensity stare. Rainbow Dash nodded her assent to Fluttershy's demand. The two Pegasi walked into the kitchen to find a flour-covered Scootaloo mixing the waffle batter.
Hi, Fluttershy! Want some waffles?
The filly exclaimed, seemingly oblivious to the fact that she was more white than orange right now.
Oh, I'd love some. But why don't you let me mix that while you go get cleaned up?
Scootaloo caught sight of her reflection in the fridge and let out a small gasp of surprise.
Guess I got a little carried away, huh?
Fluttershy took the bowl, giving the filly a friendly smile, and Scootaloo hurried off to the bathroom. As soon as she was out of earshot, Fluttershy turned to Rainbow Dash.
How is she doing? Honestly, I don't know. I mean, she seems okay some of the time, and then sometimes something happens and she totally freaks out. But
Rainbow hesitated in telling Fluttershy about Scootaloo's request, but decided that her voice would be good.
She wants to live with me. Permanently. What do I do about that?
Fluttershy's eyes widened, but returned to normal after the surprise faded.
Have you talked to Scootaloo's mother?
She asked, knowing full well that Rainbow couldn't just decide to become Scootaloo's legal guardian unilaterally.
No. That's one of the things I need to do that I'd rather Scoots not be there for. How do you feel about it, Rainbow? Taking care of a foal is a big responsibility. I know that, Shy.
Fluttershy spoke gently, but firmly.
Do you? You've been amazing these past couple days. I can't even begin to imagine what you've had to go through. And you've handled it better than any pony else possibly could have. But taking care of a foal isn't like that. It's about being reliable, consistent, and understanding. I know you love Scootaloo, but that's not really enough. You have to be willing to accept that this is going to be a major life change.
Rainbow could feel herself getting angry, which surprised her. She never got angry with Fluttershy.
Are you saying you don't think I can take care of her?
Fluttershy lightly placed a hoof on Rainbow's shoulder, and the gentle touch helped diffuse Rainbow's anger.
I'm not saying that. I think if you want to do this, it would be the best possible thing ever to happen to that poor filly. But you need to be absolutely sure that you want to. Because if you're not, that's not fair to her.
Rainbow's emotion simmered down a little.
I understand. It's just, she's had such a hard life for such a wonderful filly. If I can make her life even a little better, why shouldn't I?
Before Fluttershy could answer, Scootaloo came bounding back into the kitchen. Her mane was still damp, but her coat was restored to its usual orange hue.
What you talking about?
She asked.
Boring grown-up stuff,
Rainbow said.
Hey, listen, Scoots. I got some stuff I gotta do. Do you mind staying here with Fluttershy for a few hours? You're coming back, right? Of course. Just gonna be for a little bit.
Scootaloo smiled happily.
Cool. Then no, I don't mind. Fluttershy's awesome. Well, thank you, Scootaloo. That's sweet of you to say. But Rainbow Dash isn't leaving until she's had breakfast.
She shot a friendly glare at her friend.
How about we let Rainbow rest out while we finish making waffles?
While Scootaloo and Fluttershy busied themselves making waffles, Rainbow was able to catch a quick power nap on the couch. She was still kinda tired from last night, so it definitely did her some good to get in some extra rest. Once the three Pegasi had eaten breakfast, Rainbow left, confident that Scootaloo was in good hooves. She figured that, of all the ponies she had to see, Misty Skies would probably be her first stop. She wasn't really sure how she was going to explain why she wasn't dropping off Scootaloo as she had originally agreed to do. She was still thinking about what to say when Scootaloo's house came into view.
Huh? Where's Scootaloo? She's with a friend. I thought we could talk. Oh, well then please come in. Can I get you some coffee? Tea, maybe?
Rainbow was surprised by such a pleasant invitation.
No thanks, I'm alright.
The two ponies sat down in the living room. The thought occurred to Rainbow that she hadn't ever been to Scootaloo's house. It was nice. It wasn't some opulent mansion, and the furnishing was maybe a little too flowery for her tastes, but the couch was comfortable, and the pictures on the wall showed a happy family and her mom at a variety of locales. There was an unfamiliar red stallion in a few of the pictures. In one of them, he was holding up a very young Scootaloo over his head, with a big grin plastered on his face. Rainbow assumed he must have been Scootaloo's father. Scootaloo didn't really talk about her family all that much, so Rainbow had always assumed that she lived in some horrible run-down shack with terrible parents. But if the pictures were any indication, her home life was surprisingly normal. Scootaloo was clearly loved within these walls. As Rainbow looked around, she was relieved to find that if Lightning Strike had ever been in any of the pictures, they had long since been removed. Misty sat across from Rainbow Dash in a pink recliner.
Well then, what would you like to talk about?
She asked in a pleasant tone of voice, which completely masked the emotions that Rainbow was sure she must have been feeling.
I think Scootaloo still feels a little vulnerable, and I think she feels safer when she's with me. I was thinking maybe she should stay with me until she decides she's ready to come back here.
Rainbow offered cautiously.
I see. And you think that's what's best for Scootaloo? Well, yeah, it's what she wants. So you think that giving Scootaloo whatever she wants is what's best for her? No. But she's pretty upset, and I can't say that I blame her.
For the first time since Rainbow had met her, Misty's calm veneer started to crack.
I don't need you to tell me I made a mistake. I know I messed up, but that doesn't give you the right to take my daughter away from me. I'm not trying to take her away, I'm just trying to look out for her.
Misty shut her eyes tightly and let out a long, drawn-out breath.
And what do you think will happen if she stays with you? That one day she'll wake up and say, "Gee, Rainbow Dash, it's been fun, but I'd like to go back to my real mom now."
Rainbow found her voice rising.
She was being abused and you didn't stop it. How could you not know?
Misty took another deep breath.
Have you ever been in love, Rainbow Dash?
You loved that monster?
Misty shook her head.
No, I didn't. But I love the idea of being in love. I was in love once.
She gestured over to a picture of the red stallion holding Scootaloo above his head.
Clear Skies was the most amazing stallion I've ever met. He was so amazing that he was able to convince me that we should name our daughter Scootaloo.
She chuckled softly at her own joke.
He was warm and funny, enthusiastic and caring. I know every pony says this about their special sun pony, but I truly believe I married the best stallion in all of Equestria. Scootaloo may look like me, but she gets her personality from him. When he died, I thought I'd never feel love again. But I was okay with that because I had a taste of the real thing. But then I met Lightning Strike. And for a moment, just one moment, I thought that maybe I could have that feeling again. I let that hope blind me to what was really going on. I don't expect you to understand.
Listening to her, Rainbow began to feel sorry for the mare sitting across from her. She probably hadn't had the easiest life either. But that didn't change the fact that her actions caused Scootaloo a lot of pain. Maybe she hadn't meant for it to happen, but it still happened. And Rainbow Dash wasn't sure she could forgive that. Not yet, anyways.
You're right. I don't understand. But a little filly, your daughter, put her trust in you to protect her. And you let her down.
Misty nodded.
I don't expect you to forgive me either.
She sat silently for a few moments.
I could go to FPS. They would order you to return Scootaloo to my care. I am her mother.
She said quietly.
I suppose you could fight that order. Princess Celestia might get involved again. And maybe your friend Princess Twilight would help you. But I don't want to do any of that. You've been through a lot. More than you should have ever had to go through. Scootaloo's been through a lot too.
Her voice trailed off again.
I'm not going to contact FPS. I would like to talk to Scootaloo, though. If she still wants to live with you after that, then I won't stop her. Does that sound fair to you?
Rainbow Dash was surprised by the offer. She'd come here expecting a fight. And instead she just found a sad pony who seemed willing to face the consequences of her actions.
Sure. Can I bring her by tomorrow? Think she could still use another day to calm down.
Misty nodded.
How is she doing?
Rainbow smiled.
She's doing okay. She probably has a long road to recovery ahead of her, but she'll make it. You've raised a good kid.
Thank you. Though sometimes I wonder if Scootaloo grew up the way she did despite my care, instead of because of it.
Rainbow shook her head.
I may not have any fillies of my own, but I know something about having a mom. And Scootaloo wouldn't be nearly as awesome as she is without you.
That's nice of you to say. Here, I want you to give her this.
Misty stood, reached over, and procured the picture of the red stallion holding a young Scootaloo off the wall.
She always liked this picture. if she does stay with you, I'd like her to have it. And if she doesn't want to stay with you, then she can bring it back herself.
Rainbow gingerly took the picture, placed it in her saddlebag, and nodded. All of this emotion was beginning to make her feel uncomfortable.
I should get going. I'll see you tomorrow.
As Rainbow left the house, she couldn't help but feel conflicted. If you had asked her this morning what she thought was best for Scootaloo, she would have said that the little filly should stay with her without hesitating. But now, she wasn't so sure. Rainbow let out another groan.
Why can't anything about this be simple?